Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing great out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great beginning to your new work week out there so far. Seems like the weekend ended way too fast, and it always does, but here we are entering another work week. But God is good, and Mondays are too, even though it doesn't always feel like it. So here to try to figure out what's going to happen weather-wise across the entire lower 48 for your Monday. Before we do that, we will give you an update on the tropics. There's an area of interest we need to watch. No immediate concern right now. In fact, when you guys see what's driving this area of interest, you will think probably, how are we supposed to worry about that? It doesn't look like hardly anything. But we'll talk about why in the video. We'll mention a couple things and break down the model guidance and even the steering currents. We'll speak on that, how the steering currents are kind of weird for this time of the year. So we'll talk on that. Then we'll break down today's forecast, and then we'll speak on the cool down that's already surging across a chunk of the country right now. This is bringing and reinforcing shots of cool fall, autumn-like air. In fact, I would say this is almost an early tease of like an early winter feel out there. I mean, some areas will dip down into the 30s pretty far south. I'm talking about like areas of the southeast, the deep south. So we're going to speak on that, break it down, speak a little bit on some snow also for like the mountains of the southern Alps. So we'll talk about that also. Timestamps up throughout the entire video. If you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like, and if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Appreciate all thoughts and concerns about what happened over the weekend. If you're thinking, Mitch, I don't know what you're talking about, just watch the beginning of the video either for Saturday morning or Sunday morning, and I speak on what happened with the channel there. But let's get rocking and rolling this morning. Let's make sure this is going to work for us, and it is. So of course we're going to start this off by giving you guys an update on the tropics. We won't do this for a whole lot longer, but I mean, until hurricane season's over, we're always going to give you an update on the tropics right at the beginning of the video. But eventually, the routine of the way we do the channel will shift as we get closer to the winter months. But all is pretty quiet out there right now. There's nothing, of any kind of immediate concern. We're still watching some convection down here in the Caribbean, but there's no consolidation of it. Nothing really developing right now. We've had some model guidance, really specifically the GFS. It just went crazy with this. It's starting to calm down a little bit more now. It was kind of all on its own. I mean, it pretty much was alone on showing just an all-out hurricane with this convection, this CAG energy down here in the Caribbean. It has since kind of calmed down over the last few model runs, but we will speak on it just a little bit. The main thing we're watching, believe it or not, is this open wave out here, and you'll think, that doesn't look like anything, Mitch. Well, we got to watch it. It's kind of got its own low-level moist sort of environment, low to mid-level moist environment. It's not doing anything right now. There's no, dominant consolidated energy right now. There is a little bit of a spin out there, and there is a little bit more convection firing up with it this morning, as you can tell right here and here. But this is actually what we're watching. This is going to continue to move across the Atlantic and kind of enter this area right into here, where we have to watch to see if it's going to develop into something. A lot of model guidance has it developing into something. Is it any kind of immediate threat? Absolutely not, but we certainly need to watch it. But if you're wondering what's driving what I'm about to show you, it's this right here, this little tropical wave out here in the MDR, main development region, which, by the way, typically this area of the Atlantic begins to shut down this time of the year. And here we are tracking a wave that has the potential to develop. So we'll continue to move forward here. We'll look at the latest from the National Hurricane Center. And here it is. Has the orange X exactly where that tropical wave is, and it has a 40% chance, okay? A 40% chance to develop once it gets into this orange area here. When I say develop, that means into a tropical depression or a named storm. Our next named storm is Nadine, the N name. So we're watching this area of interest dubbed by the National Hurricane Center, and this is actually 94L, Invest 94L. So no immediate concern right now, but let's go over the latest model guidance on what it shows. So this is the GFS. We'll start off right now. We'll take it into Tuesday morning. We'll take it into Wednesday morning. Thursday morning, here it comes on your screen. Getting closer now. Friday morning. The GFS does want to try to develop something out of this convection down here, develops a tropical storm. I'm not buying it, neither is the National Hurricane Center as of now. Okay, GFS does want to develop a tropical storm north of the Leeward Islands around Friday morning. We take it into Saturday morning. Still have a tropical storm here north of Puerto Rico and Hispaniola. Definitely on the southwest Atlantic side instead of the Caribbean side. And then it makes a landfall sometime this weekend into the Dominican Republic, and then weekends, obviously, because of the higher terrain and land interaction, and then pretty much gets ripped apart. The energy does try to get back into the Caribbean, where it does try to sort of develop again, and then that's all she wrote. So it's a pretty weird track, right? Kind of heading up. It looks like it's about to head right towards the southeast, and then it gets pushed down into Hispaniola. Okay, so that's between now and the next week. All right, now let's look at the European model. What is this showing? Same thing. We make it into Wednesday morning. We make it into Thursday morning. Here it is. It's weaker with this initially, and then we get into Friday morning. Still just tropical wave, and you can see it pretty well on your screen. This is it. Just some energy. Okay, we keep this going. Looks like you have some sort of cold front boundary right into here. You know, one thing, I keep seeing here is there's a lot of white up here, a lot of splotches of green down here, tropical moisture, and there's some sort of dividing line right into here, which tells me you have some sort of cold front boundary. Once we start to get later in October, we get these cold fronts and drier that makes it further and further south, even into the Gulf of Mexico, even off the coast of the southeast. All right, so this is our energy right here. Get this all back off your screen. Knowing what I know and knowing what we know is that these tropical systems aren't going to plow right into a cold front boundary. They're going to get steered by them. So we keep this going, and that boundary somewhere in here with a lot of dry air finally starts to develop this off the Euro. You're getting into Saturday afternoon, this coming Saturday afternoon, October the 19th. And we do have just a weak low, maybe a tropical storm, and this sort of drifts, around kind of north of the Caribbean, and then eventually just kind of pulls and just stops, really slows down, bogs down. I think the steering currents get kind of wacky in this area, and then eventually it just kind of puts it in reverse and heads back the other way and is weak anyways. It's a very weak system. Doesn't even get into a sub 1,000 millibar system. But the steering currents are going to be kind of weird right here. They really are. So Euro does not really even develop a tropical storm, I would say. What about the Euro AI model? Here it comes. Here's the wave, this blob of dark green here. Man, the Euro AI model just really doesn't ever develop it. And there's that boundary right in here. Some sort of boundary. And we keep going. And this energy, wherever it is somewhere in here. But the point here is it never develops into anything. Nothing. The icon, here it comes on your screen. This is last night's icon. The icon does develop this into just some sort of tropical cyclone. Nothing strong, though, at all. I mean, it finally gets right here around Saturday afternoon, and the icon develops this into a tropical storm. Anytime I see it get below 1,000 millibars, to me, solid chance it's a tropical storm. Not always, but there's a solid chance it's at least a weak tropical storm. And develops it and gets it stronger, turns into a hurricane, and gets it very close to the Bahamas before it looks like it begins to turn north. So the icon right now is the worst case scenario. It develops this, it says basically 1 week from right now, we got a pretty strong hurricane just east of the Bahamas. So got to watch that. If we look at the European ensemble, this makes up 51 members. We take this all the way out to about Saturday evening. You still got many members. There's a pretty big spread. You got some members closer to, the Greater Antilles. Some members are a little bit further out into the ocean, right in here. All right, so but there is just kind of a central area right in here where these members are wanting to go. Now, I can see some ridging right here. This ridging is going to influence the pattern and the steering currents of this system. So we continue to move forward, and we take this about a week out. all the way till next Monday morning. And some of these members do escape, but a lot of these members do not. A lot of these can't kind of keep cruising, heading towards the Greater Antilles, just kind of cruising through the islands right here, the Bahamas and everybody, the Turks and Caicos Islands, and just everybody in between. So none of these members are super strong. I think one of the strongest ones I see is like a 987 millibar low, 986 right here. None of these are super strong, but I think we need to continue to watch this, and that's why the National Hurricane Center, does have that 40% chance of development. Another reason you need to watch this is this is the GFS. This is our potential tropical system. We know that here in the salmon color, the pink color, orange, red, whatever you want to call it, that is a ridge. So steering around this ridge is going to go just like this. In this case, in this specific case right here. This is how steering around ridging works. Okay, so this is steering this system this way. It's kind of preventing a track from just going out to sea and not bothering anybody. This ridge kind of keeps the scenario in the game of a landfalling tropical system, whether it's weak, whether it's strong. Okay, so this is being steered at the bottom edge of this ridge, east to west. Now, on this specific run, the GFS, we watch what happens here. The ridge actually strengthens on top of this system right into here. So you got the flow kind of going like this. So this kind of pushes our system almost a little bit south. Okay, and you keep this going, and then it actually pushes this into Hispaniola. And then a weakness opens up, but it's too late. It already kind of pushes, just a tropical storm right into the Dominican Republic, the Greater Antilles here. Okay, so there's a lot of scenarios to watch. I think the ridging on top of the system is going to be a main driver as far as the steering of this system for sure. So we'll continue to watch it. We'll continue to give you updates. I'm not to the point where I think it's necessary to do 2 updates a day on this, especially since overnight model guidance actually went a little weirder on it. It didn't double down on the support of developing this. It actually, I would say, on average, kind of backed off a little bit. So we'll continue to watch it. Not at the point when we need to double up the videos or anything right now. As far as what's happening right now across the country, there's our cold front. You see this right here? That is our cold front, bringing in a reinforcing shot of cold air. Ahead of this cold front, waking up to temperatures in the 60s, still some lingering 50s. It's not bad. It's definitely warmer though. Behind this, it's really cooling off. I mean, we're well into the 50s, the 40s, and then once we get up here, we're well into the 30s, even some upper 20s in certain areas. So definitely chillier. And then we have the system associated with this cold front, basically a low pressure riding this boundary. This is bringing a lot of unsettled weather, a little upper low embedded into this trough. So this is actually going to bring an opportunity for some snow across the interior New England area, the higher elevations I want to add. Okay, in fact, there might be some falling up here in the Adirondacks right now. But definitely more of a kind of fall-like pattern out here with a cold front digging down and energy associated with it. So we continue to move forward. Freeze watches and warnings are up. It's below freezing or a few degrees below it or above it in this purple color here. And then we got freeze watches, to the south and east and southeast of it. We got freeze watches up for the northern counties of PA. Freeze warnings up for lower Michigan. We got wind advisories up for areas of North Carolina and Virginia where a cold front is going to move in. Guys, I do want to say this, just kind of throw this out. It is getting very dry across the southeast. And I am concerned. A good buddy of mine kind of brought this up. He said that he thinks the wildfire season is going to be pretty bad. I know that's not really a thing in the southeast, but I am worried because Helene carved a path and just knocked down a lot of trees, a lot of dead branches out in the woods. It's getting so dry. If we keep getting dry cold fronts, we're going to have some issues with some wildfires breaking out. I hope that's not the case, but with these cold fronts that are coming down to the southeast, especially these areas that's been just riddled by just all this damage from these hurricanes, you got dead trees out in the woods, you just got dried out stuff. it ain't gonna take much. I have a feeling, I have a bad feeling we're gonna start to hear about this more as we get later into the month and really into November if we keep getting dry cold fronts. So that's something to pay attention to watch out for here in the coming months, even into winter, even into early spring. So, but the risk of flash flooding below 5%, not a huge deal at all. Obviously, it's below 5%. The Storm Prediction Center, I'm a little out of it this morning, not in a bad way, just kind of going with the flow this morning. The Storm Prediction Center outlook here, just a couple general risk of thunderstorms, and honestly, this is lake-enhanced stuff, lake-enhanced convection, so we'll get some rumbles of thunder. If it was a little colder, could get some thunder snow from this, but it's just, we're not quite there yet. We're still in mid-October. As far as the southeast today, really the only thing you just kind of pay attention to, nothing to be concerned about, is some showers that'll kind of be associated with the cold front that's moving through and behind it. But honestly, guys, there's not really anything to talk about. We're going to wake up tomorrow morning. Listen, guys, I'm very tempted to talk to my boss about this. And we're going to, you know what? I'm going to just wait until we get to that part of the video. Not going to mention it yet. But anyways, not a whole lot going on today, moisture-wise, for really anybody across this area. Now, I do want to mention cold front sweeping across the southeast. So if you're waking up, say, in Montgomery, if you're waking up, say, in Mobile, Gulfport, Biloxi, I mean, even Atlanta, Columbia, over to Raleigh. Yeah, I mean, it's nice out there. It's definitely not a warm, humid morning. But one thing you'll notice is one of those just shifts you can feel during the day. Big cold front's going to move in, and this is dew points. And, I mean, you're going to get some really dry air that surges through. If we can get this in motion, you going to work for me? All right, let's see if you're going to work. All right, cool. You see all those 60s and 50s kind of drop down into the 40s and the 30s. Look at this dry air. That is a great way to see a pretty stout cold front. And by the time we wake up tomorrow morning, that cold front makes it all the way south of Jacksonville, covers up the entire panhandle of Florida and the entire southeast, except deep down in Florida. This cold front has cleared. This is not temperatures. These are dew points. This is going to allow for your temperatures, though, to drop pretty low. So you're going to notice the winds have changed today across the southeast. If you don't, then, you know, some people just don't pick up on that kind of stuff. But you'll notice a distinct difference between this morning heading to work and then heading home from work later this evening across areas of the southeast where the cold front is not cleared. But Monday morning up here, how are we doing in the northeast? Well, it says there's a little bit of snow falling in the Adirondacks. I'm sure we'll get some pictures today. If I lived in the northeast, I would have definitely took the day off and tried to find some snow mixed with fall foliage, snowage. I know you're thinking, man, what kind of word is that? Well, little weather lingo there, I guess you would say. But, you know, we get into this afternoon, check out all the shower activity, maybe even a rumble of thunder. You know, it looks like we have some more heavier convection down here in Massachusetts and southern Vermont, New Hampshire. But you keep this going. Look at the snow falling in northern New Hampshire and Vermont, western Maine. You know, this is getting into this evening, so, you know, little tease of winter. And then once that moves out, the main system, some back in northeast, northwest flow energy will kind of pivot through. And this is where we're going to get some lake enhancement. So, I mean, check this out in southern Ontario. Got this energy coming off the Great Lakes, maybe a little bit of snow mixing with this away from the immediate lake, which is kind of pushing kind of almost a layer of warm air right off the coastline. But, you know, we start to take it into tomorrow morning, and we have some lake-enhanced energy. Got flow, a little energy embedded into this trough that does make it across the Great Lakes, gets enhanced, and then, you know, we start to get some northwest flow. And this makes it all the way into West Virginia, I mean, Ohio, Kentucky. And then by the time we're starting to get into tomorrow, definitely just a wintry-like day tomorrow for sure. As this will make it all the way into the higher elevations of North Carolina and Tennessee. But, you know, check this out. You know, I know we're getting more into tomorrow's forecast, but we're definitely just going to get some spits of rain and some snowflakes flying around out there in the higher elevations, and just a kind of a wintry-like day, just a little bit less snow to go with it. But rainfall or precipitation, I want to add, between now and the next 48 hours, you know, you'll just continue just to get some steady light rain, even moderate rain at times. But, you know, you look at the snow, you know, it does show a few to even several inches of snow adding up in portions of the Adirondacks, Green and White Mountains. But man, you know, you take a closer look at New York here, and it's almost that time of the year where I'll start looking at these individual graphics from the National Weather Service. It seems like that was a fan favorite last winter. I'm going to do it again. It takes a lot longer to put the videos together, but we are certainly going to pull them up for you folks. But we'll wait for a bigger event for that. But the Adirondacks, check out even the Tug Hill Plateau, maybe an inch or two of snow, but certainly getting some snow up here and the higher elevations, and maybe even a little bit in some of these hills in the southern tier of New York, maybe even a little bit in the Catskills. So certainly watch for that. The south central U.S. continues just to deal with quiet, dry weather. We've broken some record high temperatures, I believe, in Texas yesterday. It's going to get warm again, but there's nothing going on weather-wise, pretty quiet. And then up here in the north central U.S., kind of the same deal as what I just mentioned for the Northeast, some lake enhancement, but just some energy embedded immediately in this trough. So we're going to have some energy in Wisconsin, Northeast Minnesota, the UP of Michigan, and some of this will try to mix with some snow. I think the dominant precipitation will be rain, but we're also going to get maybe some rumbles of thunder with some of this energy coming off Lake Michigan. Any state surrounding Lake Michigan could get some rumbles of thunder, especially as we get into northern Indiana. But we're getting into the middle of the night, and just like I said, just kind of a winter-like pattern, late fall-like pattern. And as we're waking up tomorrow morning, maybe some flakes flying around the UP of Michigan. It's very possible here. And just some cool rain showers. If it's not snow, it'll probably just be some cool, chilly rain. But tomorrow morning could be waking up to a little bit of flakes up here for sure. And if we're looking at how much snow could fall from the blend of all models, just maybe a dusting, maybe an inch or two up here in northeast Minnesota. But someone could sneak and get a dusting. Definitely let me know what you see up here in the Great Lakes region. I love this area of the country, even though I've never been there, but that's definitely one of my top 2 fantasy places to live. You got interior New England and the Great Lakes region up in the UP. If you folks has been tuning in for a while, you know this, but those are the 2 areas that I would love to live. But we get into this afternoon for the western U.S., not a whole lot going on this evening. A little bit of rain shower activity for the Pacific Northwest. But outside of that, not a whole lot going on. It's been pretty quiet out here for a while now, and it will continue to be quiet to kickstart your work week. Temperatures, boy, you can see where the cold front is, can't you? If you can't, I'll draw on it for you. But that's not the color I wanted to use. It's right into here. Now this is obviously moving, right? This is moving right now. Man, that is an ugly arrow, ain't it? But it's going to actually probably be right down into here by the time we get into this afternoon. So, behind the cold front, obviously much chillier air across the central and eastern U.S. Only in the 30s in certain areas of the interior New England area, but it is definitely going to feel like fall today across a good chunk of the country for sure. High temperatures out west, definitely warmer, nothing crazy hot, but it's definitely a warmer pattern. There's that boundary right there, where it's separating the cooler air with the warmer air. So going forward, if we look at the low temperature starting tomorrow morning, you're going to get deep into the 20s. A cold morning for mid-October standards, nothing historic or anything like that, but a chilly morning up here in the Midwest, the Great Lakes region. Temperatures will dip way down to the 20s in certain areas, widespread 30s across the Midwest to Ohio Valley. Same thing with the Northeast. And for example, today, and like in my neck of the woods, it's going to get all the way into the 80s. But we're going to wake up tomorrow morning with temperatures probably in the mid-40s. So a big temperature drop behind this cold front. And then we take it into Wednesday morning. Look at those 30s all the way down into northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, North Georgia, Nashville, the Cumberland Plateau. The Cumberland Plateau will probably get below freezing. And just look how cold it is north of this area right up here. And then we start to get into Thursday morning. I think even my neck of the woods here in Columbia could get into the upper 30s, but just cold temperatures, folks. This is going to get your leaves changing like crazy by the weekend. And check out this chilly air getting all the way down to Florida, getting into the 60s all the way down to Tampa. The 50s, I'm sorry. The 60s all the way down to like Fort Myers, Charlotte Harbor, deep into the 50s in Jacksonville. You get away from sort of the shoreline, folks, and you could get into the low 40s in North Florida. So definitely cold front is going to try to make it all the way down here. And then the temperatures start to moderate a little bit. But even lows as we're getting into Friday morning, still chilly. And I think that this air mass will linger around for the most part all the way until like Sunday. And you're looking at high temperatures. I'll look at this too. Today, cold front moving in. Tomorrow, I mean, it is fall across the southeast. Beautiful air. We're getting into Wednesday. If it'll go to Wednesday, looks like it's done updated here. We get into Wednesday. I mean, look, temperatures only in the 60s, the low 60s, even just the 50s into Virginia and North Carolina for high temperatures. And just, I mean, look at this. This is beautiful fall-like weather as we're getting into our Thursday. And even into Friday, folks, I mean, just phenomenal fall-like weather. It's very nice. I do want to throw a bone to my folks here in the Southern Alps region, Virginia, West Virginia, then Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, etc. As we're waking up tomorrow morning, some energy will be surging down, embedded in this trough. Okay, we call it northwest flow action, and we're going to get some snow mixing in the higher elevations of the North Carolina, Tennessee. I think the Smokies would be a big area to watch. Rome Mountain, Mount Mitchell, obviously, way up in the higher elevations of Western Virginia and then West Virginia. We're definitely going to get some northwest flow snow event here, guys. And a lot of times, the National Weather Service likes to go conservative with the snowfall forecast with this, but I mean, look at this blue blending in. This is around the same exact time it happened last year. Remember when I posted those pictures of the beautiful fall foliage in North Carolina, and then the snow was definitely one of those kind of lifetime memories. Then we start to get into late tomorrow evening, and it could really pick up as cold air continues to filter in. So wild stuff. I think we're going to see some interesting pictures, especially as we wake up Wednesday morning, kind of a very wintry, kind of fall look. That snowage I'm talking about. And what I was saying earlier in the video is, guys, it is very, very hard for me not to say, hey, and I think I only got a day and a half left of vacation time when I add up all the other time that I'm going to be using up. But it is very hard for me not to ride up to the Smokies and see if I can get some of those iconic pictures of the beautiful bright fall foliage and then the snow mixing in. I got an opportunity to do it last year. So, that might stop me from doing it this year just because I've experienced it. But, man, it's hard not to pull the trigger on that. I wish I had some more days off, or I would. But, yeah, so that's something to watch out for sure. But that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. Y'all have a wonderful Monday, and I'll talk to you again soon.